Shift your life, it's your time in the light. Future is bright, beginning inside. Shift your life, it's your time in the light. You can't run, you can't hide. Claim your birthright. Are you ready to shift? Welcome back, Shapeshifters, to another exciting episode of the Shapeshift Your Life podcast. This episode will not be on video. It's not a video day for me personally. I'm not feeling it. And also because I feel like this message, I really wanted to land. And this is more like a transmission. This is me sharing downloads that I've been receiving from the universe, feeling into the collective consciousness of the planet. This is not about prediction, doom and doom, conspiracy theories. For those of us who have ears to hear and eyes to see, you can feel what is happening on the universe. Something is splitting. You can feel it in the economy, online. You can feel it in relationships. You can feel it in your nervous system. You can feel it in the speed of technology. You can feel it in the speed of information and information overwhelm. And you can feel it in the exhaustion that we are all dealing with mentally, physically, and spiritually. And I always say this, we're living through what I know will eventually be remembered as one of the greatest turning points in human civilization. We have never had a relationship with machines and technology in human history. And this is literally reshaping our cellular DNA, reshaping our memory. All you have to do is take a look at a young child, the digital natives. I'm from Generation X. I am from the hip hop generation. I was born in an analog world. And so the reality is that every generation that came after me doesn't even know what that means, has no concept of that. And so that is changing the future. That is changing what the future will look like. And underneath all of this change, people are asking themselves, what type of humans are we actually becoming, right? You look at young people today, all the rules that apply to you are not going to apply to the generation that's just coming one generation after you, right? Looking at the rules that work for my parents, a one generation later, don't even work for me. And the future isn't just arriving. We are creating the future in the present moment. Our collective consciousness is literally shaping what the future is going to look like today, in this moment, even in this, as you're choosing to take your time, even in this moment, as you're choosing to listen to this podcast. People are choosing their reality consciously or unconsciously. You either have intentionality and self awareness about the mindset that you're going to have, or you're just walking through autopilot. But the reality is, you're choosing either way. This isn't about choosing political sides, choosing energetic sides. This is choosing lifestyle sides. This is choosing your philosophical side, your value side, your spiritual side. There's this one part that is just pulling people deeper and deeper into the Borg, into the matrix, into everything that is artificial, AI dependence, putting chips in their brains, constant surveillance, digital identity, algorithmic living. And then there's another path that has always been and that is growing and emerging and frankly flourishing right now. And this is the side that they are never going to show you on the mainstream media because they don't want you to have an idea of what is possible because they know that you create the future in the present moment. That others is going back to the earth. It's reconnecting to Earth Mother Onile. It's reconnecting to our ancestors and to the ways of our ancestors, the gods of our ancestors, and the rituals and the ceremonies of those that came before us, the plant medicine, the wisdom. It's all about returning to community, to come into this place of embodiment and embodied presence, to share and engage in mutual aid, to have energetic sovereignty, emotional sovereignty, land sovereignty, ancestral intelligence. And the reality is, no one is either or. We are in a spectrum and we're choosing how we want to participate in that spectrum right now, right? Sometimes you might go through the whole spectrum in a day. I'm going to be real with you. So even recording this episode, right? I'm using, you know, all of the technology to get this out. And then tomorrow you might find me on a mountain somewhere meditating. It could go either way. And that's what we're talking about. This split. One, having the language to understand what is going on, because this is truly creating a level of overwhelm to our nervous systems, and having language and awareness so that we can have the self management. It's a signal, and we need to know how we can prepare. We have to be able to have a real talk conversation and not keep trying to, send the old system to the emergency room. It's like we're in urgent care trying to revitalize this body that is out of breath. Humanity is going through the biggest breakup we've ever seen. A breakup with old systems. We are breaking out of illusions, dependency. We are breaking up with the fantasy that someone else is coming to save us, and who we thought we would be, who we thought our young people would be, what we thought the future was going to look like. The reality of an old system, whatever you want to call it, it creates a level of comfort because at least you know what beast it is that you have to fight. You know who the enemy is. You know how the system works. But this new system, we don't quite know that yet. We don't know how it works. We don't have a blueprint for it. And so that can be really destabilizing when you build your entire identity around a system that is dying. And so we're seeing this in every facet of our world. Jobs, economy, government, institutions, social media, everything. And it's important to understand that collapse isn't always a war scene from the Matrix movie. It's bit by bit. Sometimes collapse doesn't just look like explosion. Sometimes collapse looks like burnout. Sometimes it looks like confusion. Sometimes it can look like inflation, loneliness, decision fatigue, decision paralysis, becoming numb, watching communities disappear, people no longer trusting each other, the breaking apart of families and community. That is also part of a collapse, and we're witnessing it. One of the fun facts that I always find interesting is that the average edition of the New York Times has more information than your great grandparents would have ever been exposed to in their entire life. People didn't know what was going on. It took time for information to travel. That's why we have the whole celebration of Juneteenth. It took them years to find out slavery wasn't even going on. Not saying that we want that, but just saying the fact that we are not just going through a collapse, but we are actually witnessing it through our feed, the feed that we've been fed, data coming at us in seconds. We have all of these different imprints of war and rumors of war and recession and a cat video and a fight and a breakup and a celebrity gossip and a recession is here and, these people died. Like, we're witnessing the psychological and spiritual collapse. And your brain does not understand and does not know the difference between what is real and what is not, because we also know that there's certain images that they push. The algorithm is pushing low vibrational information through the system. The algorithm favors low vibrational frequency. That's why when you see why do certain things trend, because they're low vibrational. As someone who puts high vibrational content out into the universe, there's just a certain level of social media fame I'll never have because the algorithm doesn't actually favor anything that's high frequency. I'm okay with that. But just understanding how it works. And so, because your subconscious mind does not know the difference between what they're pushing, what is real, what is fake, what is the distraction of the day, your consciousness, your nervous system is reading that as a real life event. And it is destabilizing to us. And there's something about seeing something. That's why we know that a picture is worth 1,000 words. We know that visuals are powerful. And that's why we have to audit the type of information that we allow into our consciousness. And as we're watching this spiritual collapse, simultaneously, technology is accelerating faster than human emotional evolution. Our bodies, our nervous systems are not built to be able to take all of this in. right? And that's why the numbing. That's why now when you see the war and you see the death and you see the brutality, I'm from the generation of Rodney King. I mean, I don't know how many of my listeners remember that. I remember the Rodney King. And what was so profound, it was the first time that the majority of America had seen with their own eyes what police brutality actually looks like. Obviously, Black people had seen it. Obviously, if you're in the hood or maybe you came across something, you'd seen brutality all the time. But mainstream America, and why was that? Because someone had a video. Remember, video cameras, these things were not accessible. We did not have smartphones. So it took a lot for something to actually be recorded. And it took even more for that recording to make it on the mainstream news. Because remember, we didn't have social media. So the mainstream news was where you got news. We only had about 4, 5 channels. And that was when it struck the consciousness in a different way. For my parents who are baby boomers and who remember the Vietnam War and remember the body bags being showed on the news, all at American soldiers that were being shipped home after being killed in Vietnam, that did something to the consciousness. And these are just one-off events. Imagine all of the different data imprints that you're getting on a daily basis. Just 1 hour. And I probably should run the numbers on this. 1 hour of social media. I mean, you're being exposed to what? Thousands different energetic imprints. And the reality is, how positive are these images? Your body's not built for that. And that is dangerous because convenience will always tempt exhausted people. The more we are disconnected from ourselves, the more we are disconnected from reality, we are more disconnected from community. And that disconnects us from spirit. It disconnects us from land, from purpose. And we will continue to hand more and more of our humanity away in exchange for comfort, to the point where booth operators, yeah, we can just, have that be electronic. We have the fast pass. All of these jobs that used to have human interaction are now being replaced. And we still don't know what the long-term impacts of that is going to be as we see civilization completely shifting, not overnight, incrementally. And that's how you program people. How do you boil a frog? You turn up the fire under the frog, and by the time the frog realizes that it's dead, it's too late because the water has been heating up all the time. But that frog could have jumped out of that boiling pot at any time. That's what they're trying to do to us right now. And COVID was the dress rehearsal. COVID was the dress rehearsal to show you, are you going to comply? Essentially, we're seeing two extremes emerge. One extreme is full technological integration, where people increasingly become merged with machines. I was just reading the other day that in Japan, they offered, hey, come get a chip in your hand. Forget that credit card, forget that click to pay. Just get it under your hand. No big deal. You can get around, you can travel, you can go on the train, you can buy things. What do you think they're doing every time you board flights at the airport when you go through security now? And they're like, you know what, your ID, that's cute, but we'll just take this little picture. Did you know that you can decline that? They're creating the database of facial recognition. Did you know that you could say, I will decline the facial recognition? That's what I have my freaking ID for. What do you need my facial recognition for? And we know that these AI companies do not have a lot of melanated people working for them like every other tech industry. That's why when you go to the bathroom, if you are a darker hued person like me and you use those electronic faucets and you're sitting there and the white girl next to you got her soap, washed her hands, she off out the bathroom, you can't even get the water to come out. Because guess what? They did not program those things to work on darker skin. There's a sister in Chicago who they used the facial recognition library to accuse her of a crime she didn't even commit. And she's suing the government for that. That's just an example of how you literally could opt out of something, but because everybody's in line getting in front of that facial recognition camera, you just do it too. This is where the discernment is so critical. The AI companions, people are going to have robots. A lot of sisters right now, if you could build a robot of any man that or woman that had the look and the body type that you wanted, and you had the money to do it and was going to love you down and tell you everything that you wanted to hear, you might be the first person in line. No cap. Stop fronting. They start by saying, Here's how great AI is. And then the next step is forget about it being in the computer. Why don't you just get the implant in your brain so that you can have this digital dependency, so you can be in these synthetic relationships? And that is part of this collapse, getting humans away from each other, right? That was one of the main things that they did and succeeded during COVID, was all of that sheltering in place got people to the point where sometimes you say, hey, we're going to go out and be, oh, I don't want to be around a lot of people. I don't like being around people. As if you can be in a village. But these are the same people who do movement work, social justice work, will tell you another world is possible, want to build the new earth, and don't like people. Well, guess what? It's not possible. People are on the earth. The village is elders, it's young people, it's everybody in between. You don't always have the privacy that you want. Folks want to live online, where the body now becomes secondary, community becomes secondary, nature becomes secondary, technology is primary. It's the first thing that you do when you wake up in the morning. It's the first place that you go for information. It's the first place that you go for intimacy. It's the first place that you go to find out how the people that you know, who you could see in person or call and talk to and hear their voice, you go and look at their digital imprint for what they're doing. That's how fucked this system has got us. And then there's the opposite, where people are leaving cities at record numbers. People are growing food. I just watched this really cool video about this man. A donor gave him the money to buy the farm, and he's like, I don't sell anything on this farm. Everything on this farm we give away to everybody. And once a month, the community comes together and eats and sings together. It's so beautiful, right? Growing food, sharing, learning survival skills. The prepping community is big. Building intentional communities. Again, these things have been around for some time, but they're definitely finding a emergence, returning to spiritual practice, reconnecting with land, reconnecting with elders and ancestry. And here's the thing, everybody's not going to be able to go up into the mountaintop and live off grid. I get that. But everyone needs to ask themselves what their relationship is going to look like. What relationship do you want your young people, your children, your families to have with technology? What are your non-negotiables? Do you even know that? Is there an edge? Is there a, hey, I'm not going to get the chip in my hand? Or is it kind of like, well, if the government tells me to, and that's what I need to do to get my money, I'll do whatever I have to do? Are you building something outside of the system? What are the systems that you are dangerously dependent on? And if your entire life collapses because you can't get to your ATM, what would you do? If you do not know your neighbors, if you do not know how to regulate your nervous system, because the one thing that COVID gave us the internet. What would we have done if we didn't have access to technology and we weren't watching those D-Nice DJ sets and having those Zoom calls with our friends? It can get really real when you have to start asking yourself those questions. If your food, your money, your medicine, your communication, your emotional stability all depends on these centralized tech systems, what are you going to do? Where money won't matter. People are spending all of this freaking time trying to raise money, raise money, raise money. If the web goes down, if the power goes out, your money will only get you so far. Do you have a generator? Do you have a solar? Do you have walkie-talkies? Do you know your neighbors? Do you have something that you can go into your garden and pick, or go into someone else's garden and pick? Do you have medical training? Do you have somatic training? Do you have some plants and some herbs? You can boil up something for some remedies if somebody gets sick. That's going to be the real wealth of the future. Sovereignty. The less dependent you are is going to be the new wealth. So what does that look like on a practical basis? First off, everybody has to start with themselves. Figure out what that looks like to you. Put together your own shapeshifter's guide to the galaxy. Some of that might be on grid. Some of that might be off grid. Some of that might be online. Some of that might be hybrid communities that are online and offline. This is not about going out into the mountaintop. And frankly, some of us are not called to do that. You know, my mother is Oya. Orisha is an Orisha of the marketplace, an Orisha of the city. I'm very clear that part of my healing work is to always have boots on the ground with people. That doesn't mean I don't need to go off to the mountaintop sometimes and do my thing, but I know that my work is to go back and forth. When you look at The Matrix, written by a Black woman who already gave you the blueprint, they had Zion, but then Morpheus and Trinity and Neo, they would pull up in the Matrix with the flyest on, able to navigate in and able to navigate out. Many of you listening to this right now are called to do that. Some of us need to go up into the mountaintop and just be silent. Some of us need to be boots on the ground all the time. And some of us need to go back and forth. So we're learning these new skills, we're building these new relationships, and we're understanding that there are alternatives and there always have been. Never let anything that's coming up make you think that another world is not possible. We're building the alternatives. And let me tell you, they're not going to be on your mainstream channels. So connect, Telegram, Signal, entire communities are coming together where people are practicing resilience, looking at decentralized communication systems that have a lot more data privacy and are having conversations that you're not going to hear. Build your star circle. I've had a whole episode about building your star circle, your people, your ecosystem, your chosen family. Humans survive through tribes. That's why we have tribes. This is not about race consciousness anymore. This is about like minded people who share your values, who share your vision through community, through shared resources, being part of a mutual aid network, not waiting for the institution. This is the result of late stage capitalism. I can go from 1492 to 2026. I don't need to run it back to the who was president before or the president before that. I'm looking at hundreds of years of data and I'm looking at what worked for my people and what didn't. And what has always worked for us is self-determination. Full stop. And that is how we're going to survive this collapse. And that's how we're going to alchemize it into Earthseed that Octavia talked about. So stop buying bullshit that does not lead to long-term sovereignty. Ask yourself every time you're spending money, does this increase my dependency or my resilience? Are you going to contribute to the fast fashion dump that is going to continue to destroy the planet? Or maybe say, let's have a clothing swap, girls. We all got stuff in our closet we ain't using. Do we really need to buy a new thing? Half the stuff in there still has tags on it. You've never even worn it. You can trade that with someone else. Let's take our money back from these billionaires that don't really need any more money. I'm not a big person of the big A online marketplace, but when money is what it is and you got to get the cheapest price, you got to go on there and buy stuff. That's real. But think about what are the things that I really need to buy and what are the things that I don't? How can I shop small? How can I support my local economy? Consumerism has trained people to emotionally soothe themselves through purchasing. Bell Hooks does a whole thing about shopping and how it's a trauma response. Meanwhile, we ain't got no land. We don't grow our food. We don't know our neighbors, don't have emergency skills. Start growing something, anything. You can grow sprouts. Doesn't matter how big your home is. You can grow some sprouts. You can grow some herbs. You can grow some tomatoes. Just one thing. Eliminate the unnecessary subscriptions. Go through and look at them and stop giving your money to these people. Get clear on your budget. Get really, really honest on what actually matters. And again, use your money to invest in the new earth. Diversify your income. To be honest, I got about 3 jobs, but I always had that because I'm a hustler from the town. And I rent out my home for guest rooms for Black women traveling to Mexico. I host events in my home. I'm a consultant. I'm part of a cooperative that I help start. I host retreats. I do coaching. I mean, I'm doing it all. And I'm building my next enterprise that you're going to learn about. I don't rely on one source of income. I got every hustle imaginable. So when one door closes, there's still other things going on. So think creative. Think how you can barter, how you can trade skills, and most importantly, how you can offer those services locally. One of the things that's really important to me right now is to earn money in Mexico because I spend most of my time during the year here. And so I don't want to be dependent on the US of A. So spiritually, because none of this matters. You can do all of those things, but if you ain't right with God, and that's what the ancestors were telling you to give it to God. That's why their spirituality was what it was. That's why the Black church is what it is. That is why the Black voice of gospel music is what it is, because they had to call on something, honey. Because they didn't have anything that they could visibly look at. They had to call on spirit and call spirit down to work miracles in their life. I don't care what your spirituality is, as long as you believe in a higher power and you believe that every person should deserve dignity and you are about healing and advancing the planet forward. Spend time in meditation and prayer and ancestor work and silence. I say this all the time. I can't underscore. You got to have an ancestor practice. You got to step up your ancestor practice. You got to talk to your people. You got to feed your people. You got to drink with your people. You got to pray to your people. You got to tell your people what you need. I walk with the spirit team of my ancestors and my spiritual twins, my Egbe. I am never alone. I talk to them just like I'm talking to you right now without the frills. Look, this is where we at. I know you've had to overcome more challenging times. This is what we're trying to move towards. These are our goals right now. These are the goals for our family. My spirituality is part of my infrastructure. It's part of my algorithm. Get in shape. Whatever that looks like for your body, whatever it is, weight training, yoga, tai chi, whatever. But being strong in your physical body right now and being mobile, having mobility. You know, a lot of people come to Mexico, a lot of Americans, and they can't deal with the walking. They're like, oh, I got to walk a block. I'm huffing and puffing. I got to walk up the stairs, 3 flights, no elevator. Yeah, a lot of places don't have elevators. You got to be mobile. You got to have endurance. Now, no shade if you have accessibility issues. In no way am I shaming that community. Whatever strength looks like, endurance matters in unstable times. Downsize. No one wants to hear this. A lot of us are still trying to maintain this idea of a lifestyle that we were never supposed to live alone. I'm going to say it again for the people in the back. We were never supposed to live alone. We are supposed to be in community. Why are you living in that house by yourself? Why are you living in that apartment by yourself, struggling and hustling to pay that rent? Let me guess, because I can't get along with nobody. I want to build the new earth, but I can't get along. I can't get along with other people. God forbid. And let me tell you, I'm an only child. I was the first person who used to say that. And now that I've opened up my home to women and co-living, it is so beautiful. I love it. We all do our own thing. We come together when we need to. We grow, but it's wonderful that when I am ill or something goes down, I'm not by myself. I've downsized to a lifestyle that is emotionally and financially and spiritually sustainable. Smaller might be freer to you. We're coming back to co-living. People are coming back home. They're coming back to live with other humans. And that is being normalized. And that is a beautiful, beautiful thing. Not because we're family, but because isolation is failing and hyper individualism is collapsing. So here's what I want to leave you with today, shapeshifters. Think global, but get hyper local. Know your neighbors, your skills, your resources. I always used to say the future belongs to the creatives. The future belongs to the interconnected. And maybe one of the biggest things of all is decolonize from having your whole identity being associated with how much money you have. I'm telling you, that currency is so dead. Money is a tool. It is not a god. It is not your identity. It is not how much you're worth, and it will not save you. I'm going to say that again. Money won't save y'all. Real wealth is relationships, it's health, it's skills, it's land, it's sovereignty, it's adaptability, it's mobility, it's spiritual clarity. All of the old rules are dead. And that is why imagination matters now more than ever before. We're being asked to imagine life differently. And that to me is what this movement of being shapeshifters, being like water. Water make no enemy. Water take the shape of any form. Water makes up the majority of our bodies, the majority of the earth. Water is feminine in nature. That shapeshifters who can feel the collapse, but we're not consumed by it. We can adapt, but we're not abandoning our humanity. We know how to build new worlds while the old ones are falling apart. We hold the spectrum. We can be on the land and we can be in the matrix and we can be every place in between. So where do you land and who are you becoming because of it? All right. That's what I have for you today. I'll see you in the next episode. Oh, and before I forget, we are down to our last 3 spots of our fall equinox retreat here in Cuernavaca, Morelos, Mexico, where we are going to be going to ancient pyramids, basking in the healing waters of Oshun, doing the sacred sweat Temescal ceremony with delicious plant-based meals and a luxurious retreat center. We are going to be in community. We are going to be healing together. We're going to be finding our tribe. And the work isn't really the beauty of my retreats. I'm now my 5th year doing them here, is not even about the retreat. It's about the magic and the community that comes out of that. This is where we build the new earth coming together in ritual together. So if you're interested and you feel the call, check out my website. I would love to see you there. Okay, that's what I have for you today, shapeshifters. Until next time, keep shifting. Bye.
Shapeshifters.